From the KUAM Podcast Network, this is Rlene Live, with conversation on island issues facing Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands. Now, here's Rlene.
Okay, today's the 4th of June, 2019, and this interview is with the poet Raigetal.
Raigetal.
It's really nice to see you again, and I would like to know what happened on this last voyage. I was in Luta. They told me you guys were coming in about 10 o'clock-ish, and then you didn't leave until 9. So what happened?
So, yeah, thank you. It's good to see you, Rlene. We had made plans to voyage to Luta with TASA group. And so the original plan was for us to leave on Saturday morning, or at least by Saturday noon, and making it into Luta by Sunday morning. There were some last-minute preparations, some last-minute stuff that needed to be done. But anyways, the voyage left at night at around about 9 o'clock at night or so when we finally pulled the canoes out. We had 2 canoes, by the way, so we had the Finnegatson with 6 people on board, and I was on that canoe, and Quest with 4 other people on that canoe. We had a chase boat too. There was a small yacht, 25-footer, with an outboard motor that was going to sail up with us and escort with all our supplies. So all of us pulled out at about 9 o'clock and started heading out the channel, hoisted sail, and we started sailing up. The wind and all conditions were in favor of going up. Of course, when we cleared the Raigetal point, it became clear that the water was very choppy and the wind started picking up some speed. Sometime we had tried to maintain communication with everybody to make sure that we were all in close contact with everybody. However, through the night we lost communication with the escort yacht. We maintained contact with the smaller canoe, the Quest, with 4 people on it, until much later into the night when we also lost communication with them. Early in the morning, by sunrise, we noticed that the other canoe was still around, the smaller one. But they were further downwind than us. We were much up. My estimation at that time was roughly about less than 15 miles to Rota. Had we not encountered some problems, we would probably make it to Rota just as we had predicted. So we had, when we spotted the smaller canoe, we were trying to go downwind with them to check their conditions, since we had been hammered throughout the night and we wanted to make sure that they were okay. But as we were just about to do that, the first part of the mast broke and we had to lower the sail. And so between myself and Isaiah, of course, who's an experienced crew of mine that also voyaged with me to Festpac, managed to do the repair, some repair on it, and then we hoisted sail again, and we sailed, and not too long afterward, the second part of the mast broke, and this one was a complete snap, so it just basically put the mast into 2 pieces. And we then took some time when the second one happened, because we had to remove everything that was on the mast and recarve it so we could, the best we can. Of course, in choppy water that could be very challenging. And then reattached for the second time, reinforcing both. So then we continue on sailing. We've lost the sight of the smaller canoe by this time, so we then just sailed down thinking if they had made it to Rota, we will catch up with them. But later on we spotted them. This was at least, I think, either 10 or less than 10 miles away from Rota. And then we noticed that the smaller canoe was still upwind from us this time. But with our condition of the wind shifting around and a broken mast. Second time it broke, we had to wait for them to come closer to us to make some kind of decision, because nightfall was coming. It was around 3 or so, and we wanted to make sure for everyone's safety that we were able to get to land. So we decided that we could call for assistance from the Coast Guard for them to perhaps tow us into Rota, so that we can repair the damage and then and sail back to Guam. Not long after requesting the assistance, the rescue chopper came from the U.S. Navy and circled above, hover above both canoes. We were, of course, about 4 miles or 3 miles apart. We could spot each other, but no communication as the smaller canoe had drained their battery. The chopper then, after circling the canoes for 2 or 3 times, it went and stopped on top of the smaller canoe. And it spent some time there. We started noticing people coming down, going up, and then about an hour later or so, the chopper left. And then we saw the sail on the smaller canoe fell down, and we were told by them also, the rescue chopper, to lower our sail and adrift. So that's what happened from like 3 o'clock on all the way until the night. There was no rescue boat or no towing boat that came out of Rota, even though we were well within towing range of, I'd say, about 10 or even less than 10 miles. That didn't happen, so we were drifting all night until the morning came, and by then we've lost sight of Rota and of course Guam. That's when I had to make some kind of decision of what to do. We have obviously had been drifting all night. We had a broken mast still, and something had to be done. So I called the Coast Guard. Luckily we could still reach them and confirm that at least one person or two were still on the smaller canoe, because after they hoisted everybody up, the sail fell, and I think part of the IPIP, the extension, was, by the strong wind of the chopper, perhaps maybe pushed it inward and have it standing up. So it looked, I could have sworn, just like any person standing on that canoe. And throughout the night we were signaling to it and calling on VHF, just attempting to reach contact with anyone that was still on that canoe so we could be closer together.
This is Rlene Live, and we've got more coming up in just a moment.
Buenas and Havre, I'm Lacey Martinez Francisco. If you're hungry or have a passion about everything food, then I've got just the show for you, with me. Each week I bring you Foodie Call, a show about all aspects of how we Guamanians enjoy our cuisine, preparing it, consuming it, sharing it, using it as social currency, and talking endlessly about it. We also profile people in our community who are masters of their crafts in working with food. Whether you eat with your eyes or can't wait to fill your stomach, or if you're a perfectionist about the process, you'll enjoy Foodie Call right here on the KWM Podcast Network. So lock in our show by subscribing to our feed on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, or on your favorite podcatcher platform, and get our freshest episodes delivered right to your device when we're done cooking them. We'll see you then, and we'll make you a plate.
Now, more Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network.
Of course, during the night we lost the beacon that we had indicated our location too. So early morning I had to make the decision of whether to call for the chopper to come back and get us, but I saw the condition of our canoe, damaged as it was. I still think that it was repairable. We could still we still have a few more spare parts, ironwood that were still lying around that we could use, and a few leftover strings that we could still use. And so that's what we did. We just had to reinforce it as much as we can. The mast, after being broken third time, reinforce it again. And then I told the Coast Guard that we were going to do the best repair we can and search land so we can come home. The easiest way for us, based on wind direction and the waves, because the waves were picking up, certainly more than 10 feet high waves that were pounding on us. I said the easiest way was for us to return back to Guam instead of forcing our way up to Rota. But I had to push further east because we thought that we could still spot the quest after we learned that there was, that morning when I called the Coast Guard and then I was told no one was on that canoe. It was only us and we were adrift. I said, okay, I told them, then we're going to repair our canoe and we're going to seek for lands, and we did exactly that. We reinforced it the best and start sailing east. So actually we were searching also for the smaller canoe, the Quest. Even though there was no people on it, we wanted to search for it in the morning to see if we can find it, and if possible to tow it or to return her home.
Did you?
No luck for us. Of course, the Coast Guard didn't like that we were going to do some search for our own canoe after requesting for help. So we did that, sail up east as much as we can until I knew that we were in right position to sail downwind with the least resistance of all elements, including high waves and winds. And we did. Then we would change course and start heading toward Guam. So all day yesterday from, I think we restarted repairing our broken canoe by 5 a.m. all the way until 9, or at least before 9. We started to hoist the sail and sail back, searching for the other canoe and repositioning ourselves to come home safely. And I think at about around this time we made it home safe. And by the time we got here, we noticed that all 4 crew on the smaller canoe were there to welcome us, and that's when I had asked them if there was any damage to the canoe, and they were very confused. They said, no, at least my boys, the canoe is in good shape. The canoe broke the sail only when the chopper came on top of them, and they got too low down that the wind from the helicopter snapped the sail. And but the boys on the smaller canoe went as close in to Rota as they could, spotted houses and stuff, but they actually turned around came back to search for us when they noticed that we weren't following or we weren't ahead.
So in practicality, was that a smart move on their part, or should they have continued their voyage?
In practicality and in traditional practice, that was a smart move. They need to make sure that the pairing canoe was okay. And when they saw that we were okay, they then start turning around so that both of us could, we were okay in that our sail was up, but we were already running 50% on repair, temporary repair, but we could make it. And in fact, the irony of it was that, we had triggered the request for assistance to be towed, the bigger canoe, Finnegatson, not the small canoe. They went to the wrong canoe, they picked up they were all okay, and then in that process also broke that canoe's mast, or the sail fell down. And no communication to us about what had happened, so we were assuming all night that someone was there. Had we known that was the case, we would have do our best while the chopper left and go and tow that canoe into Rota, do the best we can. So this was one of those, miscommunication, and as far as I'm concerned, it was like, it wasn't so good. But the bigger picture is everybody's safe, and I'm happy that everybody made it. So
that's always important, but it's already almost historic that trying to get up north from here is a real challenge, and that particular sailing vessel has had problems in the past, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, Finnegatsen has had, when they went to Saipan on it, it sunk, and I think, there's been some instances in the past. It's a hard canoe to sail, I must say. I must admit that. So yes, there's.
We're talking about the Finnegatsen.
Yeah, I think there's been instances in the past specific to this canoe. Mind you, the sea lane between here and especially here in Rota is very choppy because they're big islands. They're close together. Marianas Trench is not too far away. And that's known to all of us. We were always told about this sea lane and the challenging part of having to sail, especially from Guam up, because Guam coming down is downwind. Luta is a bit to the east of Guam, so if it is easterly, or even if it's you're bound to sail a bit into the wind, and if you need to shunt around, you will have to do that.
Don't go away. There's more coming up with Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, I'm Ken St. Nicholas and I love movies. No, I mean I really love movies. And if there's one thing I enjoy more than dissecting plots, questioning casting choices, and challenging scenes, it's debating with my friends and their opinions about their favorite flicks.
You can't handle the truth!
So join me and my cohort of cinephiles each and every Tuesday for Real Talk, right here on the KUAM Podcast Network.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
We cover best of lists, actors' top roles, and don't pull any punches when it comes to giving props about what's big on the silver screen, streaming, and on video. Just make sure to bring your own popcorn.
Let's go!
So lock in our show by subscribing to our feed on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, or on your favorite podcatcher platform.
That's wig, Janice. What's it made of?
Your mom's chest hair.
That's Real Talk, each Tuesday, right here as part of the KUAM Podcast Network. Speaking of which, let's go back to your show.
I guess the only thing I can say is I'll promise to keep rocking and rolling and making better films.
Now, back to the conversation with Rlene Live.
For this specific canoe, Finnegatsen, I mean, this is my first time to sail her in open ocean to Rota, and experiencing her, she held, but you would almost have to have like real capable arms, experienced seafarers to take that, because first, it's very difficult for you to bail a V-shaped canoe that you can hardly fit in. And I'm used to my canoes where it's big so that you can bail, because bailing is important, even though it's like the most the smallest component of a canoe is a bailer. It has the biggest function when you're out in the open ocean, So that was one, and then the other component of the canoe itself, she runs well, she sails fine, but bailing is difficult, and when you have canoes that are not like used on a daily basis, you can expect that we did the best we could in trying to refit her before the voyage, but there was just in a short period of time, and also there has to be some errors on our part of overlooking what may not be visible until you get out into the ocean. So
That's always a trial and error thing, right?
oh yes,
Sailing is,
it is
in
that.
all my observations, my hat goes off to you because the persistence is obviously necessary. But, Sandra's asked me to sail with you guys, and I'm always 50% there, but my feet are still on the ground because I keep thinking, whoa, what are we going to do? We're just drifting. That scares me.
Well, this was my first voyage between Guam and Rota, and to experience that, as challenging, as difficult as it was, I am happy to have had that experience because, it just kind of like, for me personally, reinforces what my ancestors have been saying. It's like, okay, this, and then on top of it, to be able to pull out of that. I know that I'm sure that some of our crew, particularly those that were, first timer, I did what I could to keep the spirit alive and to make sure that there's no panic and that everybody feels safe. That's my responsibility, and I made sure that that was the case.
How do you do that with 3 vessels, though, Larry?
Well, no. Well, in that case, the canoe that I was on, but with the other vessels that were around, I had to just maintain communication and said. But when the situation happened to us 2 days ago, that it broke communication and all that, then my responsibility was confined to the bigger canoe as the lead navigator on it and ensuring that everybody is safe and it's just.
Was your voyage a direct shot to Luta?
Yes.
Okay.
It was going to be a direct shot to Luta.
So that would have, of course, the fastest is always direct. But if you were to do it again, would you tack it a little bit more to the west and?
Actually, to the east.
To the east.
Yeah,
okay.
go to the. If I were to, the conditions, the wind for us on Saturday night and Sunday was good enough for us to go direct. At least if we hit Luta, we'll just be a little bit to the west of it, and then we shunt and go into Rota. But it all depends on where the wind is coming from. Preferably the next voyage, maybe the wind will position itself directly from south. Then that's sail with the wind straight up to Rota. But we all know that that's not common, because in our part of the world, 80 or 90% is all trade wind coming east, and then the rest is few on the westerly wind.
So right now we're sitting here at Ascent Park, and we're sitting on the beach side, and that's a pretty strong gust that we're getting here. What is the gust of this wind?
I think, for now it's, between 15 to 20 knots, but I think when we were out there, it was about the same, 15 to 20 gusting. But, it's different when you're on land than when you're on ocean with the wind. Even though they're the same speed, you feel it harder when you're out in the open ocean. And
nothing else to absorb it.
Nothing to absorb but you. And, same with the wave. Nothing to absorb but you. Because the wind is picked up, the wave's picked up by the wind. It makes it.
So how many people did you have on your?
I had 6.
6.
Which was a good load.
Okay.
But and the other smaller canoe 4. So there were a total of 10, plus the chase boat that had 3.
The chase boat is motorboat?
It's a motor yacht.
A motor.
And the yacht, their sail broke first, so they had to. So if
is it the wind that's
yes. And the choppiness of that. So if a metal post breaks, then you can expect that the smaller canoe, though, it held up. Their sail held up. Because we also have the mechanism of reducing force and stress on sail and mast, and we did all of those. But we just didn't see what was inside the mast that was weak and had to break. So.
Stay where you are. The conversation continues with Rlene Live when we come back. From broadcast sales to marketing and public relations, from newspaper columnist to talk show host, sound challenging enough for you? Not for Rlene Live, who went on to be president of an advertising and marketing agency, then a newspaper managing editor and an investigative reporter, all in just 20 years. Now she's back as an ethnographer and oral historian, and you can now find Rlene Live Monday mornings on the KUAM Podcast Network. Tune in and learn the oral histories of Itautautanu, the people of the Mariana Islands, and the Palauan and Refalawish people of Micronesia. She's personal, she's local, straight up, and so much more. She's Rlene Live, now on the KUAM Podcast Network. The conversation continues now on the KUAM Podcast Network with Rlene Live.
But we made it safe.
Well, that's
the important part.
That's the important part, and I'm glad that you're back. And I always look forward to a talk with you. And I really do look forward to you making that journey.
I will do it again, and you're welcome to come on it. You know,
if I'm braver.
Yeah. If there are
you need
some.
a really wide canoe for me.
You need our canoes, because.
I need comfort, man. I'm spoiled. But maybe one day. I mean, I'm getting there, but.
Yeah, I think it's worth.
If I go in your canoe, because I know you know your canoe, maybe that'd be different. But.
Yeah, if it's my canoes, okay, I'll take you for sure.
Okay, for sure. That's a deal.
Yeah, that one I can be sure that but I was getting used to the bigger canoe here, Finnegat's, and she's good. She sails. She's smooth on calmer water. Maybe on harder waves and bigger wind. The challenge is how you bail it, and how do you get the water out?
So, any regrets?
No, not at all. Well, maybe the only bit of regret I had was calling the Coast Guard to come for that rescue, assuming that they would understand that we could just be towed. We're traditional canoes. We were safe. We were okay, and so the regret that I have is that I assumed that they would understand, because we were well within reach. All we needed was to pull the Finnegatsan in, let the smaller canoe sail in, and then we did the repair and we come back to Guam.
Well, it sounds like you're going to need to talk to them in case that happens in the future before you go.
It's these kind of things that the two systems need to understand how they work.
Right. So
I can appreciate the fact that the Coast Guard and with their rescue mission would just extract people because it's a matter of life and death. Yeah. But they've got to understand too that for traditional voyagers, that's already part of our mission. Yeah. Is that when we go out, we understand the condition, and we will not, we will do the best we can, and unless our canoe is completely broken into pieces and we're swimming.
You want to make it.
Then, but we want to make it.
Maybe what you do then is before you go in your next journey, let them know that at all costs, tow is in first.
Absolutely. For closer range like this.
Right. I mean, if you're way off course, that's
different.
Thing. Yeah, but you're 15 miles. That doesn't seem like a lot.
Much less than that, and it was we could
you see
Rota? Oh yeah, it was so big.
Oh.
Like I said, the small canoe went all the way in until they were able to see houses, and then they had to turn around, based on their knowledge of seafaring, which I would have done the same if I were in their shoes.
Did you train them?
Yes, they're boys that I trained.
They did exactly what you trained them to do.
Yeah, so they were. Every time you're pairing in a voyage, you got to look out for each other.
Thank you again.
No, thank you.
Another Larry Raigetal event.
Yeah, I know.
Let me me give a hug. Oh my goodness, so nice to see you.
Say hi to your husband.
I will do that.
You've been listening to Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network. Join her every Monday for a new edition. Log on soundcloud.com/KUAM News or listen anytime. Scroll down and click on Rlene. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Email Rlene, RLENE, @rlenelive.com. Thanks for listening.